Sounds good. Moving on to the NFC East, I don't have any changes to the ordering of the teams based on last year. So I'm going right down the board, similar as last year. I've got Philly, Dallas, the New York Giants, and the Washington Commanders. I have seen all the buzz around Dallas. I've seen, their offensive rankings, their defensive rankings. I mean, they could very well be one of the best defensive units in the NFL. Like, I will not dispute that. They've got obviously Parsons, they've got Trevon Diggs, they brought over Stephon Gilmore from Indianapolis. They still have, obviously Lawrence on the end as well. It's just like they do have a lot of pieces that, probably bring them up in the ratings. I know they had the top, amount of pressure placed on quarterbacks as of last year as a unit. I mean, I feel like that's exciting. Still got, Dan Snyder kind of at the helm and, returning a lot of their starters from last year. So they do have a lot of the chemistry continuity baked in. I think the reason why I have them second, even though I think a lot of people want to like kind of push them to the mountaintop, is you got that X factor in Dak Prescott. I mean, number one, I don't trust it'll stay healthy. I think that's first and foremost. Number two, I just don't think he has the moxie. I don't think he has, the intestinal fortitude. I just really, there's something about him that I feel like when the big moments come, he kind of fumbles and stumbles. And, for everything that I saw from Philly, last year, just Jalen Hurts, his leadership, his aggressiveness, his ability to kind of, take charge and kind of run that whole offense both on the ground and through the air. I mean, he's exciting. I mean, I think, they return a lot of their starters on offense. They've got a completely different mix in the backfield, which I think is also something to keep an eye on with DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny, who I think might be, the workhorse back when he's not, dealing with injuries himself. Could be a little bit of a mixed bag there in the running game, but I think Hurts does enough on the ground himself to make that competent overall. And I think if there's one knock, I mean, we look at the front seven and we kind of, drool because they've got all these all-pro, starters, and then they mixed it with a lot of, Georgia talent as well. So it's kind of like they continue to, fill slots where they need to, like Javon Hargrave leaves and they bring over, Jalen Carter to kind of fill that spot, or Jordan Davis, a drafted rookie from the year prior. So it's all interesting. I think the knock that I get to is the secondary. Slay and Bradbury are in their 30s now. They lost CJGJ to the Detroit Lions, who, might be one of their rivals this year in the NFC. So I think that's where the analysts start to like pin the Cowboys up with the Eagles. But at the end of the day, I mean, this Eagles team is pretty tenacious. If anything, they struggle a little bit with elite quarterbacks like a Patrick Mahomes. But, if they can just do what they normally do, I think, outside of that elite quarterback coming to town or whatever it could be, I mean, it's still fine them being like an 11, possibly 12 win team,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Eagles, I think for me, yeah, I got the Eagles on top, Cowboys, and then I got the Commanders, actually. And then Giants. The funny thing with the Giants, and I might get flack from the Giants fans on this. They have a better team than they did last year. They just have a really hard schedule, I feel like, compared to some of their comrades in their division. So yeah, I have the Giants finishing last here, but they might have the same record though. I think is the funny part as last season is just that they have a better roster, like with Waller now and such. But anyway, yeah, that's I think where I landed there. But yeah, for me, it's got to be the Eagles for sure. Like you said, the defensive line, the talent that they have there, even though they have a little bit of, I guess, an aging secondary, they have enough talent, I feel like, to kind of just overcome some of that. Prescott still is talented. It'll be interesting what happens with the Cowboys with, I think, Micah Parsons moving strictly to the defensive end now. I think he stated that, and that's also where all the money's at in that Dan Quinn defense. And then, Tony Pollard, like, I can go on with regards to all of the Cowboy talent that they have there. We'll see what happens, I guess, without Kellen Moore and kind of that whole thing that they were doing over there, I feel like. But yeah, I just have, I guess, Eagles overcoming any of those obstacles there, continuing on. Although they lost both their offensive and defensive coordinators actually there. So, and then at Commanders, I don't know if I'm like jumping on the Sam Howell train or whatever, but I feel like he'll do enough for that team, and I think that team, it's really talented. It really is. One of the best, I think, front sevens in all of football, underrated. And then they have enough offensive talent, I feel like, to make some differences there. So, yeah, I feel like Commanders going to take a little bit of a step, I feel like, but at the same time, Giants fans, it's hard for me not to go against Brian Daboll. He's such a talented, good coach. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's where I neglected to cover the bottom two teams in this division. No slight against either of them because I think this is one of the better divisions in the NFC. I think with the Giants, I think I'm starting with the coach. I mean, Daboll's ability to kind of see the pros in Daniel Jones and kind of try to maximize where he has those strengths. I mean, I think returning Barkley and adding some new weapons to the wide receiving core with Waller and Hyatt. I think that could be fun. The defensive side of the ball, this is one of the units that's kind of graded in the lower third of the league. So I think overall it's going to take great coaching and scheming to kind of get them over the top. But I do think they have some interesting pieces on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, Dexter Lawrence is one of the best defensive interior linemen in the game. And, they still got Kayvon Thibodeau. And, I think they have Leonard Williams is also one of their interior linemen too. So it's, I think on their front four, at least, they're pretty formidable. Everything else, I think, has some question marks. Washington, the reason why I have him in last is because I'm not really sure what to expect from Sam Howell. Again, he could have ability. He could be somebody who, turns into being a competent quarterback. I feel like he has the ability to use his legs as well as his arms. So I just think you're going into year one basically, and I think that's a lot to ask of him, especially in what I think is one of the hardest divisions in the game, especially when you're facing Philly and Dallas a couple times. That might be a lot to take on. And I know they've got Jacoby Brissett as well, but it's just hard to say that the defense alone is going to be enough to get them winning ball games. And Terry McLaurin starting off with turf toe. I don't know how long it lasts, but if he's not at full strength too, I mean that's a huge knock to the offense. So guys like Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel really have to step up to kind of cover some of those losses. But all this being said, I think that I've got three of these teams going to the playoffs. My top three are similar to last year. It was hard for me to get creative in the NFC just based on really how bad it is compared to the AFC. Like if you really look at it, it was tough for me to think about who's going to make the playoffs once we got into wild card slots over there. But man, it's not looking too pretty.
Yeah, no, this definitely is a tough. The NFC definitely was tough, and yeah, for me, I was like, well, I got to have the Bears in here somehow, so somebody's gonna have to get screwed. I feel like so. Yeah, I had Seahawks, Niners, and then yeah, out of the NFC East, I did want to put the three teams in there, but yeah, I think I had to put the Bears in there, so I had Cowboys and just the Eagles, and then Saints, and then Lions and Bears there at the NFC North. So, but yeah, this NFC definitely is tough. I think a lot of people are predicting it's gonna be like a Niners Eagles like trajectory that way, but I don't know. It'll be competitive, I think, but yeah, those two teams I feel like are just on a different stratosphere, right now. So